Hello dear students, welcome you all for Power System Operation and Control class. So today continue with the fourth module, that is a tie line oscillation. We saw in the previous sections that the system state matrix is a 9 cross 9 for a two area system. With some simplification, we can get a fairly good idea about the effect of the system parameter on the dynamic response. So let us make the some of the assumptions. That first one is neglect the turbine and governor time constants, neglect the damping constants d1 and d2, and both areas are identical. By making these assumptions, we can still simplify the things. With these assumptions, the two area equations reduces to delta pm1 of s is equal to minus delta omega 1 of s by r, because here d is d1 d2 is neglected here. Then delta pm2 of s is equal to minus delta omega 2 of s by r, or delta omega 1 of s is equal to 1 over 2 hs into delta pm1 of s minus delta pl1 of s minus delta p12 of s. So substituting these values in delta or in this equation, by putting the value of delta m1 of s, we will get delta omega 1 of s is equal to 1 over 1 plus 1 over 2 RHS into minus delta PL1 of s minus delta P12 of s by 2 HS. That is shown in the equation 13. So similarly, we can get the delta omega s delta omega 2s also. That is the same thing here, because here PL2 and P12 is taken instead of PL1 there. Here where PL2 is taken, so that is taken as equation 14. Next, delta P12 of s is equal to T by s into delta omega 1 of s minus delta omega 2 of s. So we can write this as T over s by putting the values of delta omega 1 of s and delta omega 2 of s, whatever we are calculated in the 13 and 14. So after putting this one, we will get finally in the 15th equation. You can see all the simplification I done. Delta p1 2 of s is equal to T over 2h divided by s square plus s by 2rh plus t by h, which is multiplied by delta pl2 of s minus delta pl1 of s. Equation 15 shows the simplified this one. So the poles of the denominator determines the oscillation in delta p12. We compare the denominator with the standard second order characteristic equation. So that is what standard the second order is, s square plus 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square, that you are known in control system. So it compared with this one, that is we can write s square plus 2 alpha s plus omega n square. So we can write our alpha is equal to 1 over 4 RH, comparing these two equations, because the 1 over 2 RHS is there. So 2 alpha s means 1 by 4 RHS we can take alpha, or omega n can be given by square root of t by h, or we knowing that in radians per second we want, means that is 2 pi f naught t by h whole square root. So the damping is determined by the relative value of alpha and omega n and the roots of the equations. So s1 and s2, the root of the equation is given by minus zeta omega n plus or minus zeta j omega n into 1 square root of 1 minus zeta square. This we are knowing roots, or which is equal to minus alpha plus or minus j omega d. So we are knowing that omega n into 1 minus zeta square root is nothing but omega d, damping frequency. Alpha is equal to zeta omega n, and omega d is shown here. So A is called the damping factor for the damping constant. Omega n is the natural undamped frequency of the oscillation. Omega d is called damped or conditional frequency, and zeta is calling as the damping ratio. So we now see the following cases. The first one is when zeta is equal to 1 or alpha is equal to omega n, that is called critical damping. We are knowing critically damped function, that is when the zeta value is 1. When zeta is 0 or alpha is 0, the roots are purely imaginary, and we get the purely sinusoidal oscillation, that is called as undamped condition when zeta is equal to 0. For a step change of input, equation 14, the input delta PL2 of s minus delta PL1 of s. Therefore, for a step change in the load, we would get sustained sinusoidal oscillation of the tie line power at a frequency of omega n. From the equation 16, we can see that alpha is equal to 0 and r tends to infinity. This means that there is no governor speed control. Third case, when alpha is lesser than omega 1, zeta is lesser than 1. So here this is the under damped condition. when we get the pair of complex conjugate, the system is underdamped, and we have oscillation in tie-line power flow. We have a frequency of omega d as the equation 19, and the time constant is 1 over alpha. And when alpha is greater than omega n, that time overdamped condition, that is zeta is greater than 1. The system, the roots of both are real. The above analysis is only approximate but helpful for knowing the effect of the choice of the parameters on the stability of the system. If you consider the damping constant of the load, then alpha is modified as alpha is equal to 1 over 4h into d plus 1 by r. Okay, so this is what the tie-line oscillation problems are there. Before taking the problems, we will see the last part of this first half of the unit module 4. So some related issues in the AGC implementation is there. Those issues are, one is first response of different controls, supervisory control and data acquisition. Second one is the participation factor, and third one is the generation rate constraints, and fourth one is the governor deadband. Fifth one is the filtering of ACE, and sixth one is the frequency AGC application. So these are the related issues in the AGC implementation. So anyhow, I am sending the notes on this one. You can see. Now we will go for the problems. By problems we can finish the first half of the fourth module. Okay, let's continue with the problem now. We'll see the 7.11. Consider two area system with R is equal to 0.2, D is equal to 0.8 and H is equal to 3s. The tie line has a capacity of 0.1 per unit. The initial power angle delta 10 minus delta 20 is equal to 30 degree. Find the frequency of oscillation of the tie line power for a step change in load if nominal frequency is 50 Hz. So solution is done by P max is 0.1 per unit. T is equal to P max cos delta 0, that is cos delta 0 we are having 30, that is 0.1 into cos 30 will get 0.0866 per unit, and calculating the alpha, that is 1 over 4h into d plus 1 over r, we will get 0.4833 per unit. Omega n is square root of t by h, we will get 0.01 radians per second, that is 25 f naught by dh, we are knowing for radians per second. Since here alpha is smaller than omega n, so omega n is 3.01 and alpha is 0.488. So it is damped frequency of oscillation is given by omega d is equal to omega n into 1 minus zeta square root, or zeta is alpha by omega n. We will get 0.16056 as zeta. So omega d is 2.971 radians per second. So this is the solution for the frequency, that is damping frequency. Okay, next we will see the another problem, that is 7.12. Two control areas have the following data. Area 1 is having R1 is equal to 0.1 per unit, D1 is equal to 0.8 per unit, and rated MVA is 1500. Area 2 is having R2 is 0.098 per unit, D2 is 0.9 per unit, rated MVA is 500. First case, a load increase of 100 megawatt occurs in area 1. Find the steady state frequency and the tie line power flow change. Second one is a load increase in 100 megawatt in both the areas. Find the steady state frequency and change in tie line. We convert the R2 and D2 to the area 1 space, because only increase taken place in area 1 now. R2 converting it to base of 1500 and D2 is converting to the base of 1500. We will get the 0.294 and 0.3 per unit respectively, R2 and D2. Finding the beta 1 and beta 2, 1 over R plus D, that is we are knowing for beta 1 it is 1 over R1 plus D1, for beta 2 it is 1 over R2 plus D2. We will get 10.8 and 3.701 beta 1 and beta 2 respectively. So delta PL1, we are knowing delta PL1 is 100, that is change in the increase in the load, that is 100 on the base of 1500. So we will get 0.0667 per unit. So delta F is known by delta minus delta PL1 by beta 1 plus beta 2. We will get the value as minus 4.6 into 10 to minus 3 per unit. Multiply with frequency 50, we will get minus 0.23 Hertz. So steady state frequency is 50 minus this one, we will get 49.77. So delta P12 is nothing but minus delta PL1 beta 2 divided by beta 1 plus beta 2. So we will get the minus 0.01702 per unit, or on the base if we are multiplying by 1500 megawatt, we will get minus 25.5 megawatt. So now we balance the changes as follows. Increase in the load is 100 megawatt. Increase in generation area 1, that is delta PM1 is minus delta omega 1 by R1. On a base of 1500, we will get 69 megawatt. Increase in the generation area 2, that is delta PM2, that is minus delta omega by R2, that is 4.6 into 10 raised to minus 3 divided by 0.294, that's R2 into 1500. We'll get 23.47 as the delta PM2. So change in load of area 1 due to change in frequency, then we can take delta omega D1, that is we will get minus 5.52 megawatt, and change in load of area 2 due to the change in frequency delta omega D2 is we will get minus 2.07 megawatt. So change in generation is 92.4 megawatt, that is taken by 100 minus actual increase minus 5.52 minus 2.07, that is 92.4 is the change in load. So B in delta F, that is the frequency, we can get that minus delta PL1 plus delta PL2 over beta 1 plus beta 2. We will get beta 1 beta 2 we already calculated. We will get the value as minus 0.46 hertz. So that frequency F is 50 minus this one, you will get 49.54 is the steady state frequency. So here change in the load area of 100 megawatt must be converted into base of 1500 and not as the 500, because this we have to use a common base. That's what delta P12 we can taken as minus delta PL1 beta 2 plus delta PL2 beta 1 divided by beta 1 plus beta 2. We will get 48.98 megawatt as the delta P12 on a base of 1500 megawatt. Okay, so the next problems you can try by your own, that is solved problem 7.13, 7.14 and 7.15 problems you can do by your own. So the same type of problems you can solve. So many types of problems you have seen, almost all the same. On the taking the base is very important, and decision how you are making, what to be solved, what to get. So once again you try by your own, you will come to know how to solve this problem. Okay, so by this your first part of the fourth module is finished. In the next class we will go for the next part is voltage and reactive power control. Very interesting one, and easiest one. We can understand this one. Many electrical phasor diagrams, your circuit diagrams are there. So theory part is also very good in that one. So we will see that one by the next class. So for the timing, you just solve these problems whatever I told you, and go through the theory once again. Thank you.